3, hit it!
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to today's Caffeine for the Soul. And the title of today's episode, The Only Thing You Need to Know, comes from one of my first books, certainly my best-selling book over the years. It's in something cool like 30-plus languages now around the world, and it's called The Inside Out Revolution, The Only Thing You Need to Know to Change Your Life Forever. And part of what prompted me to write that book was that I started to see that there's a simplicity to how we work. And that when you see the simplicity of how we work, it makes everything else in life simpler. There's an Einstein quote that actually I don't use in that book, but I used in one of my earlier books, where he said, everything should be made as simple as possible, but not simpler. And so the only thing you need to know, as I talked about it in the Inside Out Revolution, was that we're living in the feeling of our thinking, not the feeling of the world, not the feeling of our circumstances. That our feelings are not coming from, our experience of life is not coming from outside us. It is being generated from inside, in the mind, projected onto objects outside of us, and then experienced back in our senses in the same way as a movie projected onto a screen and then experienced by us sitting in a seat in the cinema. And it's true, in my experience, that when somebody really sees that insightfully, not as a theory, not as a concept, but experientially, their life changes. Sometimes in subtler ways and sometimes in grand ways, in the same way as if you have a dream that's incredibly vivid and you wake up from that dream. Your life is very different once you wake up than it was before. And even if you fall back asleep and you go back to the dream, it's not the same. If you think you're watching a documentary and you realize it's fiction, nothing in the documentary changes, but your experience of watching it does. But in the years since I've written that book, I've seen that there's something else that when people see it seems to make an even bigger difference than seeing the inside-out nature of our experience, the thought-created nature of our personal realities. And it's seeing how beautifully we're made. It's seeing the perfection of our design as humans. It's seeing how the mind works, how perfectly the mind works to live a creative, productive, happy life. I remember teaching a class and I was drawing something up on a flip chart and somebody was talking about how they were learning this, but they were struggling with this, and they were clearly very up in their head, very busy-minded and trying to get it right. And on the left-hand side of a flip chart, I drew a bunch of lines, and they were like the rules, like the 10 commandments, and then the new 10 commandments, and then the 40 commandments, and then the 50 commandments, and the 110 commandments, and then a lot of the commandments are crossed out, and you've written new commandments on there, as we're continually trying to find the right way to live. We're continually trying to find guidelines that if we follow them, we will be safe, and we will be happy, and we will do well. And then on the other side of the flip chart, I just wrote the words, settle down. Because what I've seen consistently is that when we settle down in our minds, when we get quiet, we already know how to live. We already know what to do. And we don't need 10 commandments or 100 commandments. We don't need new rules and we don't need better rules. Because we are made in such a way that when we get quiet on the inside, when we get underneath the noise of our thinking. What to do comes to us. It is common sense. It is simply obvious. So I just kind of want to leave you with that thought. What if the only thing you need to know is how well you're made and how beautifully you function, and how all you ever need to do is settle down, and everything you need is right there waiting for you? You already have everything you need. It's just really easy to get caught up in our thinking and not notice. Have fun, learn heaps, happy exploring, and I'll talk with you soon.